Shelby OAKS is a supernatural horror film that follows Mia, played by Camille Sullivan. She yearns for her long-lost sister Riley, who was a YouTuber investigating the supernatural before she went missing. Mia is brought new footage suggesting what might have happened to her sister, which brings her out to the abandoned town of Shelby OAKS to investigate. So this is a pseudo found footage film. It starts off playing out very much like a documentary during this long cold open before a big bomb drop sends Mia on the journey. The movie plays with the idea of family voids. It's carried by the emptiness that comes with yearning for the family you once had or want to build. That's buried deep underneath a story that is on the surface very much a supernatural horror story. The theme is weaved into that, but the aesthetics seem to be what takes precedence. So starting with the good, during its darkest moments, the movie can be really eerie and tense. The quiet, pregnant pauses really contribute to the creepy nature. There are some long takes that leave you at the edge of your seat waiting to see what they lead up to. They don't always deliver, but nevertheless, they make the movie actually feel kind of scary. The atmosphere can feel very cold, and that alone can be pretty unsettling. Some of the locations are pretty dark and actually made for some pretty memorable horror film imagery. The movie has a good bit of intrigue. There is a mystery to be solved, and we are brought along for that mystery, so it's sometimes entertaining seeing the pieces come together. How cryptic those pieces start to get is where the movie starts to lose its thunder. There are things that you can kind of solve about the movie, and that's fun, but there are still big questions that make the movie feel incomplete. So moving on to the bad, the idea of this being a quasi found footage film kind of just feels like an excuse to have an 8-minute long exposition dump through found footage. Beyond the cold open, there's a couple more moments where the footage she's watching takes up the screen, but it's kind of just a normal amount that you would find in a mystery movie. It basically stops being a found footage film after that, and that's kind of unfortunate. It really felt like there was a lot more room to capitalize on that gimmick. This is one of those horror films where corners are cut in writing to justify putting the protagonist in the horrifying situation. Like the excuse that Mia has for not contacting the police and going to Shelby OAKS by herself does not make a lick of sense when you consider what she was just doing at the beginning of the film. But of course, this is a horror film carried by the protagonist finding herself in scary situations while she's trying to solve a mystery, so there needs to be a reason that she goes and not the cops, but the reason just wasn't really believable. There are several moments in the movie where you see characters do things and they just don't really make sense. Like, why did the guy in the beginning of the movie go all the way to Mia to do the thing he does? And what exactly is the motive behind the antagonist? That's a huge miss here, not knowing exactly why the evil is being done or what purpose all these supernatural elements are serving. Not understanding how the supernatural beings work totally works for a movie like Bring Her Back, also made by YouTubers, because it is not important to the story. There's still an antagonist who we understand and has her own story driving the movie. Here, it was very important. Without it, it's just not a complete story, and even worse, for a supernatural horror film, it's kind of cliche. It's got the occult symbols, creepy old ladies, abandoned theme parks, lots of things that make for creepy subject matter. It's just all overdone. The second act has some lulls where Mia is just watching footage or walking around Shelby OAKS, and then clues enter frame. And then again, and then again. It's very repetitive, flashing clues and intrigue with no new information to help solve the mystery, at least none that make the story more interesting for us, the viewers. And that's the best way to describe the movie overall. It's just one of many horror movies that don't feel like they're made with the viewer's experience in mind. The biggest issue is that Mia is hardly fleshed out. I want to be invested in this character's hardship, but it's hard to care about someone who you know nothing about beyond the conflict at hand. Where are the parents? What's her job? What is she even actually like? I want to know how big of a void she has in her life without her sister or a kid that she wants to have, because that's what'll make us care about her. And then the ending was not finished, and dare I say, a bit sensationalist and a little bit cheesy in how it was framed and edited. The big problem is that the ending does not tie a bow on the character's story because the movie seems to be more concerned with the supernatural elements having their conclusion. The idea behind the ending is definitely to make viewers go, oh my God, so mysterious. What do we even make of that ending? There's so much to speculate on. But no, it was actually more like, hey, I think you forgot to end the movie. Simply rolling the credits is not how you do that. There is an implication about what the point was if you're paying close attention to the movie's core subject, but it's still like, Why? Again, what is driving the antagonist? This movie is the feature film debut of YouTuber Chris Stuckmann, who is of course one of the OGs of the YouTube movie review genre. It's creators like him that made this type of content what it is today. I probably would not be sitting here doing this today if it wasn't for creators like him who started doing that years ago. Even though we have different perspectives on film, I feel like I owe guys like him and Jeremy Johns a debt of gratitude. But at the end of the day, this is just another movie for me to review, and I'm not gonna do so dishonestly. I think it's totally awesome to see a YouTube critic graduate to the title of filmmaker, but I'm not here to review Chris. I review films, as much as I want to play this movie up because I love the idea of more movie lovers getting the opportunity to make their movies. I'm just not gonna sugarcoat how I actually feel about this film. So overall, I thought this movie was kind of lacking. It's sometimes creepy, but the script just isn't airtight. Things just don't always make sense or seem feasible. The main reason to see this is if you're a big fan of Chris Stuckmann. I totally understand wanting to support the artists you like, so I'm sure you Stuckmann fans will find enjoyment in the fact that the creator you followed for many years got his chance at making his movie. Buy a ticket, show him some love and support if that describes you. For the rest of you though, I have to be honest and say that as far as horror films go, this one is not up to snuff. Thank you for watching this review. If it brought you any value at all, please give it a like. It really helps this channel grow. I will see you later this week with my review of Begonia.